Comment bien?
Bonjour tout le monde. Donc, nous allons démarrer notre session et on va accueillir Dr. Doug Britton. Dr. Britton, welcome for the speech. And you can welcome. Okay, okay.
Testing 1, 2.
Allô? C'est bon? am na fi écho de.
Allô? 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 Test, 1, 2, 3, test. Allô? C'est bon. Allô?
Hello?
Allô? Allô? 1, 2, 3, test. Allô? 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 1, 2, 3, test. Allô?
Bon, bonjour tout le monde, j'espère que vous avez bien mangé. Alors, on a une présentation générale avec ce qu'ils appellent keynote speaker, présentateur principal. On a Doug Britton et l'animateur, normalement, c'est Emmanuel Linkoué, qui n'est pas venu. On a choisi professeur Diaga Diouf pour faire la modération. Donc, après cette présentation, on a un panel qui va parler de l'autonomisation des femmes. Donc, les membres du panel sont là. Après ça, on va être répartis en session plénière comme hier, en session de travail, mais parallèle. Donc, il y aura normalement 5 sessions qui sont prévues, mais malheureusement, la session 9 a été annulée du fait de problèmes de salle et puis éventuellement en intégrant d'autres aspects. Bon, on n'aimerait pas dire ici. Voilà. Bref, donc les sessions seront 5, 6, 7, 8. Vous allez voir affiché. Ici, on a la session 8. Les sessions ici, ce sont les sessions retransmises. C'est pourquoi on fait les travaux de groupe ici. Voilà, sur ce, je passe la parole à professeur Diagne Diouf pour modérer.
Merci beaucoup, Dr. Diallo. Alors, comme il a dit, nous allons donc écouter Dr. Doug Britton. Mais avant d'introduire Dr. Britton, alors, je m'appelle Diaga Diouf, je suis professeur à l'Université Cheikh Anta Diop de Dakar et je suis de la faculté des sciences et techniques et je travaille en génétique végétale. Alors, on va écouter Dr. Doug Britton qui va nous parler donc de... c'est la même chose que ce qui est écrit ici. Donc, Food, Agriculture and Food Processing Technology and Innovation. Dr. Doug Britton, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes. Merci beaucoup. Et merci, mesdames et messieurs, pour l'invitation à présenter aujourd'hui. Et je ne parle français très bien. Et juste que je présentais dans l'anglais. Apologies. I'm sorry, but thank you for the invitation to be here, to be able to share with you some ideas and thoughts that I have that may be helpful for you. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about innovation and vision. Share with you some technology that we are working on at Georgia Tech. So I'm a principal research engineer on the faculty at Georgia Tech, and I manage the agricultural technology research program. We have about 25 academic faculty that work in the program, and then we have between 20 and 30 students from undergraduate, actually from secondary school, all the way up through graduate school that work in the program with us. So we do a lot of different activities in agriculture, but most of our focus is on the processing side and on the technology side. So I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through. If you have questions, just let me know and I'll try to answer the best I can. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present today. So I manage the Agricultural Technology Research Program, where our vision is to transform poultry, agribusiness, and food manufacturing through advanced technologies. And I share this vision with you because it's, I think, very important that you know what your vision is and that your people know what your vision is. So if it's okay, I'm going to spend just a few talking specifically about vision. We also do research, outreach, technical assistance, and education as part of that mission that achieves that vision statement. What is vision? What is the vision? The vision is the ambitious goal, the organization, the group, the class, the team that gives it purpose. If you don't know your vision, you have a problem, okay? So there's a comedian named Michael Jr., and he gives a very fantastic talk. I don't have time to share it with you today, but his point is, when you know why you're doing what you do is more impactful because it leads you towards your purpose. So you have to know why you're doing what you're doing in order for your what you're doing to be more impactful. So if you don't know why you're doing it, you need to think about, why are we doing what we do? Why am I choosing this project or that technology or that thing? Because if you know why, then what you're doing. We were talking earlier about extension. If you don't know why, you're not going to adopt the technology or the practices. So you have to make sure you know the why behind the what that you're doing. Can you advance? Oh, there we go. Oh, too many. Okay, too many. I'll go back. It's catching up. Okay, so what can we do to make your vision stick? So this is not my original work, but it's some work that was presented by Andy Stanley. He's actually a business leader, but also a church leader in the United States. And he simply says there's 5 principles to an effective vision. One is you have to state it simply. Everyone needs to be able to understand it. In our situation, it needs to be 9 words or less. If it's more than 9 words, people won't remember it, okay? So 9 words or less. Cast the vision convincingly. You have to be able to convince someone that this is the right vision, right? Then you have to repeat it all. Repeat it. Every presentation I give my vision statement. Everyone, both to my people and to everyone outside. So we repeat it. Celebrate it systematically. If you find someone who's executing against your vision statement, celebrate them. And they will become more advocates for what your vision is. Embrace the vision personally. If you as the leader, or you as the person on the team, or you as the person in the research or you as the person in the agricultural sector don't believe the vision yourself, you won't be able to convince other people. So this needs to be right at the top. So these are the guiding principles we use for understanding vision. And you might say, why is this important? What does it have to do with innovation? Well, I think that innovation starts with the vision. If you don't have the vision, your innovation will not be effective, okay? There's this gentleman is the president and CEO of one of the largest restaurant in the United States. And he says that vision and innovation serve one another. They're partners, vision and innovation. So if you don't have the vision, your innovation will not be as effective, okay? So you have to have that vision in order to make your innovation effective. So what is innovation? Okay, now this is your chance. What is innovation? No one knows? We've been talking, the conferences, biennial research, innovation and industrialization, right? Okay. Okay, creating new solutions to existing problems. Good. Anyone else? A creative solution. Okay, very good. These are good. All right. So, Clayton Christensen, he's passed away now. He wrote a book called The Innovator's Dilemma, 1997, and he characterized innovation in two categories. And he said, innovation is the creation and use. If you're not using it, or you're not able to use it, it's not innovation. So we have the creativity part, but you have to use. Innovation is creation and use of a better or more effective. And you get to answer. Is it a genetics? Is it a chemical? Is it a material? Is it a process? Is it a plant? What is it that makes it innovative? He said there's two types of innovation: sustaining innovation, which evolves an existing product with better value. Okay, so I will use an example of the cell phone. Maybe. So this is the iPhone from 2010 to 2017. iPhone 4 to iPhone 10. This is sustaining innovation. Every screen is exactly the same, right? Which is very important, and it's sustaining, it's making it better over time. Better camera, better GPS, better technology, but it's fundamentally the same tool, right? Fundamentally, this is the same tool. You can say the same thing about the Samsung. If you're using a Samsung, Android, or whatever, same thing, right? These are sustaining innovations. You understand the difference? Okay, so it's evolving an existing technology with better value as you go up the chain. Disruptive or transformational innovation, it's an entirely new product that I think maybe the batteries are going on this one. Maybe it's okay? Okay. That eventually disrupts the existing technology, right? So transformational innovation changes the whole landscape. Let's talk about what that looks like. The iPhone. But I just said it was sustaining innovation. But this is the very first one. The very first iPhone. Now, we're too young to remember before the iPhone, but some of us with gray hair and longer beards, we remember the old flip phone, right? And how difficult was it to send a text, right? And how difficult was it to take a picture? Oh, you couldn't send a picture, right? And the camera was very poor. And then came the iPhone, and it changed how we think about the phone completely. Does anyone still have a flip phone? Flip phone here? No one, right? So it's a transformational technology that eventually disrupted or changed, right? It got rid of the BlackBerry, was also a cell phone, right? Gone, okay? So that's an example. The other is the flat screen TV, right? Look how thin, you don't even notice, but that's the thin, how thin it is. Does anyone have the old big heavy TVs with the glass tube? They're gone. Right? And so those are examples of transformational innovation. My last one is the camera. The digital camera was invented by a company in 1976 by a gentleman named Steve Sassoon. And the company he worked for, 1,000 patents on the digital camera. But by 2012, this company laid off 40,000 employees, filed for bankruptcy, and sold its entire digital imaging intellectual property. Sold it. You know what company it was? Kodak. Somebody said it. Kodak. Kodak. Why? Why did they not see this opportunity? What was their primary business? Photos. How are you going to ever use a photo on a digital? Well, nobody will ever do that, right? But they didn't anticipate the cloud and sharing and texting pictures. So they couldn't see the value in it. But now they're not in the imaging business, right? So they had a hard time making an adjustment. So if we look at the curve, and this is a general curve, you have and then you have a transformational disruptive innovation in time. Okay, but it's much efficiently than the current state of the art, right? The state of the art is better. And the first digital, all you could see was a shadow of a person. You couldn't tell who it was. Now, you can see every defect on it. And when you have a transformational innovation, you have to anticipate the new curve. If you anticipate that, you eventually have a transformational event that change. We do things fundamentally. Okay, so there it comes. Maybe it's coming. Okay, is it coming? Okay, so this is again not my work, but it's work run by Alyssa. She said there's online, but I think the microphone is stopped. So, ideate. So you can do that through a number of different ways. You can have competition, you can have collaboration, but you have to have somebody in leadership that's advocating for this new idea, okay? Then you have the selection. You have to think about what's the benefit, what's the drawback, okay? And then how are you going to be transparent about what the benefits are, right? The other tendency is to kill it too soon. Oh, that will never work. How many of you have ever heard somebody tell you that will never work? No one? Oh, you've heard it? No one else has ever heard? Yes? Yeah. They say, because there's going to be people there that cannot see the vision that you see. And so that'll never work. And that's what they kill it before it even gets out of the greenhouse, before it can get into the field and actually become something. So don't kill it in the greenhouse. Oops, we lost our presentation. So we're waiting for the presentation to come back. Innovate. What's that? Yeah, it's a disruptive innovation. That's very good. But yeah, innovation, okay? So you have these 5 stages of innovation, right? Then you have a selection process, okay? You have a yes or a no. Do we go? Do we not go with this innovation, right? And this is all part of the process of generating innovative ideas in the marketplace. At some point, you have to have a commercialization strategy. You have to find a marketplace. You have to understand whether the market will be able to accept the innovation you're trying to provide. Sometimes you're too early, right? They're not ready for that innovation, but it's put it in your back pocket and wait till it's ready. Sometimes you're just right on time, and sometimes you're right on time, but the right conditions don't exist, right? The resources aren't there, The infrastructure doesn't exist, okay? So you have to gauge all of that when you're looking at innovation and understand what the effectiveness is and whether or not you can be effective in that innovation. But it's very important. So vision, right? You have to know why you're doing what you do, all right? It gives you purpose. Innovation is what allows you to think differently. You can think differently about existing, the sustaining technologies, or you can think completely differently, disruptive. Okay? So if you're thinking both of those ways, and both of those innovation processes are very, very valuable. Sometimes you have to innovate on a sustaining before you can innovate in a disruptive way. Sometimes we have, I was talking this morning, and I said, you know, sometimes innovation is not necessarily having a new idea. It's taking an existing idea and understanding how to adapt it to the environment, the economy, and the culture here, right? So you can't just take innovation from other places. You have to be able, the innovation is understanding how do you take technology that's already existing and make it work here in this situation. And that's innovation, okay? And you can follow the same processes to do that. Okay, I have some videos. Hopefully we can get the presentation back. It's on that one. Did you copy it over? No, it's not on that. Yeah, we might need to do that. Presentations on. Fine. Yeah. So while we're waiting, any comments or questions on vision and innovation? Yes. Yep. So that's so actually can work both ways, right? So there's the, you might be familiar with the NSF I-Core program. Okay, so their model is you go out and you ask the market, what are your problems? What are your problems? How do I solve those? What are your problems? How do I solve those? What are your problems? How do I solve those? What are your problems? What are your problems? What are your problems? And you try to understand if there's a need for your technology or for your product in a specific market space. And then you're the successful technology transfer activities, most of them start somewhere, but don't end up where they think they were going to end up, right? So they end up thinking, okay, I'm going to go to this market segment. But then over the course of time, they realize that this market segment actually needs the technology more or is more ready to adopt the technology. Okay? All right, here we go. Yeah, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Oh, okay. Okay, so we've talked mostly about this, right? But yeah, you can do it both ways, right? You can find a product, drive it into the market, or you can find a market and build a product for that. Both of those mechanisms will still use a very similar process because in the end, the market has to adopt it or you have no product. Either way, right? So the market has to be ready to adopt it. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to share with you some examples of technology we're developing at Georgia Tech, just very quickly. So we have 3 research thrust areas. One is in chemical and biological sensing, so looking at pathogens, looking at other materials, chemicals. We also have poultry operations where we're looking at poultry, and then we have okay. One? Okay. Okay, this is supposed to play. No? No, it has to go on the other machine. We tested it on that machine. Yeah, and the next one? Can you show it not over Zoom? I don't think it's going to work over Zoom. Yeah, it's a video. So unfortunately, it's not showing over the Zoom because I think they're showing the Zoom screen. Can we just show the computer screen? Yeah, it's embedded. It's embedded, but the Zoom, they're showing the Zoom screen and it's not going to show over the Zoom screen. They have to show the local one. Yeah, but I manually, okay? And they're taking and they're cutting the joint through the shoulder on each side, then they're pulling the chicken meat off the chicken carcass, okay? And in the process, they get very effective yield. They pull most of the meat off because they're very skilled at doing the very first cut of the shoulder. And if you can do the very first cut of the shoulder, you're very effective at doing the yield accommodation. The problem is you have to have people do it. And it's very expensive. They have automation that tries to do it automatically, but the automation does not hit the yield, does not get the amount of meat the frame that the people can get. So what we have done is looked at a robotic solution. No. No. I don't think you can do it over Zoom. It's not going to work. So what we've done is we've taken some 3D cameras, we imaged the outside of the chicken carcass, we then map that 3D data, the red, green, blue, and the depth data, to the internal bone structure of the chicken, and then we build a cutting trajectory for a robot directly, and the robot comes in and does the cut. And we do that for every chicken every time, right? So we capture that data, we process that data, we use various AI algorithms to do that, and then we generate yeah, here we go. Okay, so here's the robot, right? And so we've captured the information and it does a cut. That was in the lab. Here's in the processing plant. Okay, so the cameras sit behind me here. These are the chickens, so you can see one does one side and one does the other side. And there you can see the people on the other side doing the same thing, okay? And the idea is, can we get that to just as doing the cut, we have to hit a 2 millimeter gap with that blade in order to do that. And so in order to do that, we have to have very good algorithms that allow us to find the joint and then guide the blade through that joint. And then they can grab the wings and they pull all the meat off the chicken. And so that's how they do it right now, right? Okay, we can move to the next one. There we go. So another technology we're working on is virtual reality. These are the headsets, right, that you can use. Most people play games, right? And I talk to youth and they go, oh, we know what this is, right? They like to play games with this, but we're using it to solve some automation problems because robotics are very good at doing a task over and over and over and over and over again, where people get tired or they get fatigued or they get injured because it's just over and over and over. And robots, not the case. But the problem is the robots can't see the product very well. They can't make the decision on where do they need to grab the chicken, where do they need to do the cut. And so you have to have cameras and imaging, and that's the real bottleneck right now of doing automation in some of these environments. And so we've said, what if we can use a virtual headset, have the person give the information to the robot, and then the robot executes the task. So if you'll go to the next one, please. Oh, okay. Yeah, very good. Okay, so up there, the top left, the gentleman is wearing the virtual reality headset. What he is seeing is a digital twin of the real world, exact replica of the real world. You'll see the gentleman in the top right. He's putting the chicken down on the carcass, or on the table, and the robot is just picking it up and putting it on a cone. The cone is what goes to the cutting line. Okay, you'll see his hand in the space down here. You see it show up, so there's a camera showing real time what's going on. We have tested this over 1,000 kilometers, where the guy wearing the headset was 1,000 kilometers away and controlling a robot. But what this means is two things. One is the people don't have to be in the plant anymore. They can be in another room where it's much more comfortable and maybe a nicer environment and not as cold or not as wet. The other thing is, maybe they don't have to be there where the processing plant is. Maybe they can be at the university. Maybe the students can go and sit there and work, you know, overtime and just do some robot manipulation virtually. The last thing is we're capturing all of this information, every bit of information, the images, the positions, the actual places where the robot needs to pick up the chicken. All of that data is being captured digitally. And we're now building a data set that we can use to train the AI. Because the biggest challenge with AI, we heard this yesterday in some of the sessions, the biggest challenge is getting reliable data and lots of it. You need lots of data to have reliable AI outputs, okay? And so this is allowing us to do that in real time while we're actually doing the task. And so it's a really different concept of what we're trying to do. Okay, we'll move on. So this is a robot. Now we're moving into our agricultural robotics. So this is a robot that's autonomous, completely autonomous. And what it's doing is it's picking up eggs on the floor. So this is a breeder house in the poultry world. So these eggs go to the hatchery and they become chicks that become the meat chickens, okay? And so what it's doing is it's picking up eggs on the floor, because if an egg hits, you can see right here, sorry, there's an egg right there on the floor. There it goes, it picks it up, the video is all jumpy. But if an egg gets on the floor, everyone puts their eggs on the floor. And you might have 5,000 eggs on the floor the next morning. You cannot use those eggs because they're contaminated. They're now down where the feces is and all the contamination is. So if you can get the eggs off the floor very quickly, you can save a good bit of money, of lost money. But it's really just a toy problem, because the real benefit is really in the next slide. Maybe the next slide. Go too fast. One more. Can you get go? Yeah, okay. So this is the data that the robot's collecting, right? So in addition to being able to pick up the information about the eggs, we're also capturing information about the chickens. And you can see here, we're already starting to look at health, welfare, what we call uniformity of the chicken, right? The more uniform the chicken, the better the product is, because the customers are looking for a product that's very uniform, okay? And we can already see challenges. Down here, this one on the bottom has issues with the legs, okay? So we've started to see that it's having issues with the legs. The ones on the top are pretty good, except for the one on the right. That one has a parasite that causes it to do, you know, to have a problem in the back. which needs to be removed. And so you can capture this data in a real process of the imaging of the live animal in the environment. I don't know, maybe my, oh. Can we advance? There we go. Is this video going to play? No, it's not playing. Okay, so this is a robot that our students designed. This robot was designed to do what we call thinning, okay? So this is a peach tree here on the top. You see before and after. If you don't thin the peaches, you get a lot of peaches, but very small. And not only that, but if you have a lot of peaches on one branch, you break the branch and then you get no peaches. So you have to thin the peaches at some point during the process. And so what they've done here is they've built the autonomous robot to go out into the field, grab off the peachlet, pull it off the tree, dispose of it, and then look at the. And this is a completely student-led. And so they've been building this robot, and I'm sorry that, are we still trying to go over Zoom? If it's over Zoom, it's just not gonna play. There's not enough bandwidth. But that's the robot. It's supposed to play a video, but that's okay. Okay, let's go to the next one. And I'll talk a little bit about, I'll end here soon with a couple of sensing activities. So, we're also doing some work in volatile organic compounds. These are essentially just smells, right? You smell a flower, that's a volatile organic compound. And what we're doing is we're looking at volatile organic compounds that plants produce, because they tell us a lot of things about what's going on with the health of the plant. So for example, they attract pollinators. The berries actually attract animals to eat them because they smell it and disseminate the seed. They also tell you when into water stress. They put out a volatile organic. They also tell you when they're having a disease infestation. They put out a different volatile organic. So we're using this technology called a twister. We didn't invent it, we're just using it to try and track and identify those compounds that give us an early alert to when there's a problem in a field. Now, the problem is this is very early stage, right? So we don't have all the compounds identified, but we're starting the process and there's a lot of compounds that get emitted. So we're trying to understand which ones are tied specifically to the drought stress, as well as the disease. Okay, next slide, please. It's not going. Can you click into the presentation? There we go, okay. So here's an example. So this is the detection of alpha toxin, which is a fungus that grows, and this is the fungus, and alpha toxin is the byproduct, which is a toxin, okay, and it grows in peanuts, particularly when there's been a drought. So can you tell me which of these plants has alpha toxin? Huh? Left? Right? You can't tell. Right? Left? Left? Right? You can't tell, but one of them has alpha toxin, right? But the VOCs can tell us, okay? Okay, next. So that one was good. It should come. They should both come up. There you go. Okay. But you can't tell by just looking at it, right? So, but we can tell early on by the gases that are emitted by the plants what is going on in the root structure and in the plant that we cannot see very early, right? Yes. No, but we already have pods in the dirt. It's a peanut plant. Yes. No, not about alpha toxin. We're actually talking about the development of aspergillus, right, which leads to the alpha toxin. Yeah, the development of aspergillus. We also looked at peach tree root rot, so we could detect when the trees were having a root rot, and it puts out a compound. So, yep, because the peanut plant, it puts down pods continuously. And so you can start understanding the early detection of that aspergillus in the plant. Yep. The next one is water stress. There we go. Okay, I went ahead and told you. But again, the plants don't tell you. I mean, you can detect it very early with the volatile organics before you can necessarily see it. If you're very experienced at looking at plants, you might say, okay, I can start seeing some of these leaves here are turned over, right? So I just saw that there. Very good, right? So if you're very experienced, but if you're not experienced, you wouldn't know, right? And you're not necessarily going to be able to see all your plants all the time. And so this is a way that we think we can do early detection in a non-destructive way. You don't have to take the plant, you don't have to take the leaves to be able to monitor the condition of your crop. In particular, we're working with peanuts to see if there's an opportunity for detection. Okay. So I told my team, what should chicken processing look like in 2050? I said, come back and think about this. So I gave them the task to fundamentally rethink it using a systems-based approach, looking at things like food safety, environmental impact, animal welfare, and labor and automation. Those were the 4 key drivers that we said, these are the things we have to address by 2050. And then then we partnered with other institutions, right? So Georgia Tech is not an agriculture college, we're a technology college. So we had to partner with other schools, University of Georgia, University of Arkansas, University of Florida, University of Tennessee, and Auburn University, who have the agricultural specialists. Because we felt like this was really a community initiative. We had to think about it, but we were leading on the technology front. In 2050 we'll have, I think we'll have chicken, but maybe not beef. Yeah, but nobody in the lab, you mean? Yeah, but how many people? Not very many. It's less than 2%. It's been going on now for 5 years. More than that, more than 5 years. And the adoption rate is 2%. No, it depends on whether you like it. No, but but the only thing that makes a difference with money is whether you like it. If you don't like it, it doesn't matter how much money you can make, right? And so far, people don't like it. They don't prefer it, unless they have some other reason, right, that they want to have it, either, ethical reason or religious reason or something like that. Then they have reason, to eat it. But yeah, it's not growing as much as you think. Yeah. So I think it will be here in 2050. So how do we do this? How do we drive our innovation? And how are we going to achieve that? We think we're going to do it by connecting people. It's why I'm so proud to be here, and I consider it a privilege to be here to meet with a lot of you. I've met so many great people. The people here in Senegal have been very welcoming, and I'm glad to meet everyone here. Develop thought leaders, right? The students that are coming through the programs that some of you work through are so important. You have to encourage them to think differently and be willing to think differently, okay? Don't tell them no, okay? Tell them, why, how, when, what are you doing? Encourage them to think through all these questions, and they will come to the right conclusion themselves. But if you just tell them no, now you kill the fruit in the greenhouse, and you never get to see it grow. All right, adopt advanced technologies. That's been a theme we've heard this whole time here, right? Advanced technologies across the spectrum. And adopt those advanced technologies as they become available and drive transformational innovation at the intersection of disciplines. I'm an electrical engineer. I never thought in my career I'd be doing agriculture, right? But I've spent 25 years in agriculture. So we think there's an opportunity when you have this intersection of engineering, agricultural sciences, and technology. At those intersections, there's a lot of interesting questions that can be answered. And there's a lot of opportunity, okay? You just have to be creative. You have to be thinking about the innovative process, and you have to understand what your vision is that's driving you there, because we think that the innovation at these intersections is what's going to enable long-term sustainability of the business and the industry. So I don't do this work by myself. As I mentioned, there's a whole group of people back at Georgia Tech that do this work, and I I have the privilege of presenting their work to you, but I would like to give them recognition for the work that they do and the thinking that they do. So it's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for your attention. I apologize for some of the challenges, but I appreciate your help as well to make this possible today. So we might be out of time. I don't know.
Thank you, Dr. Duke. It is a very nice presentation. And personally, I love work. I think before giving to the classes, I think I have just one question. What about the cost? Yes. For example, one of the machine who is taking the egg, or the machine who was in the field to detect the aspergillus flagelus, something like that.
So I can talk a little bit about cost. I can talk about cost of materials, right? Because it's not a commercial product. There's a company that's actually very interested in I talk about the egg picking, okay? But in US dollars, cost of materials is probably around $20,000, which sounds like a lot, but in the US market, it's not a lot because they have to pay people right now to go through each of those houses. And that becomes a biosecurity problem, right? We have avian influenza, right, in our houses. And so when they have people go from one house to the next house to the next house, they are the vector of disease transmission, okay? The other thing is we've got 3 of them. When you build 100, now you have the scale of cost, right? 2 things I would say is if you're doing research that's thinking way forward, 2050, okay? Maybe we won't be chicken. I don't know, but we're gonna plan for it. But when you're thinking way forward, you cannot let 2 things get in your way. You cannot let cost be your driver. If cost is your driver for 2050, you won't ever change the way you're doing it today, okay? The second thing is regulations. Now the minister's assistant will have to not listen. But if you use current regulations as your guidelines for the future, long-term future, you won't get any innovation because you're innovating to an old set of rules. Instead, what you should be doing is shaping the new regulations as you do scientific discovery over time, right? So you discover a new way or a new process or a system that improves food safety, welfare, labor, environmental impact. And over time, you will become more efficient, and then that will help inform the regulators, okay, we need to make some changes on the regulation. So, but cost, we try not to worry about it, but we also, so now let me tell you about sustaining innovation. Sustaining innovation, you have to consider cost, right? Because you're trying to solve a real problem today for a customer tomorrow, not 50 years from now, tomorrow. And so when you're doing sustaining innovation, cost becomes a primary driver, right? Goes back to that innovation process where you had those stages. The last one was the marketplace. Will the marketplace be able to pay for the service, the product, the innovation that you're bringing to the marketplace? And you have to think about that, right? So, but it's a good question. Thank you for asking.
Thank you very much. Yeah, last question because we have other presentation. Yes.
So thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. I really appreciate the input and all the science that goes behind it. My question is that, and I would like to actually pick up from where you left it, that is $20,000, which of course for other countries is expensive, and I understand the US is not. But how do you foresee, or if you have a plan or something in the back of your mind, like using this technology, simplify it and have it as senior design projects that actually universities like the ones that we have here that are starting with technology, they can do it in perhaps 1 year, right? It doesn't have to be the controls or the complexity that we have in the US, but it could be something simpler that we can pick up and start the process there. Thank you.
So thank you. Very, very good question. So I actually visited with some of the Doust students yesterday, just briefly, and they gave a presentation of their tractor, that they're the hand-driven tractor. And I thought it was very interesting because they actually are on version number 2 already, right? Because they had to change some things based on what they learned in the process of doing version number 1, which is exactly the process you want to have them follow. They do something, then they learn and they make it better, right? And so there are opportunities. We have a program, I mentioned that robot that picks the peaches. That robot has actually been developed over the course of maybe 5 years. And every year there's a different group of students that come in, but the beginning, the year 1 students join the team. The year 5 students leave the team. The years 2, 3, and 4, they stay, right? And they stay, and then they keep growing, they keep coming in, and they bring new students in. It's called a vertically integrated project, so it's across all the years, all the students that are there of that team, right? And the students, they opt into this. They don't have to take this class. This is an optional class. And they take it because they really enjoy the real world application. So you could see something here on some innovation, right? It doesn't have to happen in just 1 year, but it could also build over time, right? So I am expecting the next version 3 of the hand tractor to be very different than version 2, which was different than version 1, right? So there's a progression, sustaining innovation, right? We get better and better and better and better and better and better over time. So it's very important. Great question.
Thank you very much, Dr. Duke. I think now we have to go to another presentation. And je pense qu'on doit... Alors, je vous passe la parole. Je pense que si on continue à innover, je pense qu'on aura beaucoup de valeur ajoutée pour nos produits agricoles.
Merci, professeur Diaga. Donc, on va passer au panel des dames. Are you ready? Well, how was your lunch? That's fine. So, ok. Alors, je vous donne là, c'est Aminata Ba, celle qui modère.
Hello, salam alaikum. Good afternoon. So we are going to start panel on gender and agri-tech. So I want to call Dr. Asimina Pellegrini from Raja University and Marietu Sek, Marietu from MasterCard Foundation. She is the program lead of agriculture program lead, and Madam Ofal, take a seat, please. And Madam Ofal from FAS is an NGO, Farm Africa Solidarity. She is the regional director. So thank you very much. Me, I'm Aminata Ba from UNDP. I am the head of solution mapping. We have a unity working on innovation. That's why we are working with CAUS on mapping innovation, supporting the national ecosystem on innovation. But my first job is I am a gender specialist, but now I am 2 years ago on innovation field, so I can better foster in gender. My English is not so perfect, but I am trying to do my best. So thank you very much. I'm going to introduce the panel and why we are talking about gender. So let me, non, c'est pas une présentation. On va juste, parce qu'on a 30 minutes normalement. Alors, the panel is about empowering the gender gap. So I'm the moderator. Professor Asimini, Dr. Asimini, is chairing the department, mechanical department and aerospace at Raja University in New Jersey in United States. So welcome. Madam Kumba Fall, Executive Director of Africa Farm Africa Solidarity, Madam Kumbafal, and Maretu Sek, Agriculture Program Lead at MasterCard Foundation. So the first question, I will maybe just remind that we are talking about Agri-Tech. You know, all people who are here are maybe on the scientific side. So we are talking how we use technology to facilitate the work of farmers. So they can do it better, they can be much more productive. And so if we are talking about applying innovative technology in agriculture, we are talking about the training organization involved in agriculture and research and development. We are talking also private and public actors who are funding this sector. So just one question. Why do we need to talk about gender on Agri-Tech? Professor Asimini, I let you first respond to this question.
Thank you very much. So around the world, there is a lot of innovation that is happening, and thank you very much for the introduction of the topic. And of course, women have certain needs and they're different than, like as a gender in terms of how they are approached from the technology point of view. So for example, here in Senegal, right, when we are talking about Agri-Tech, we're talking mostly about women being the processing of the Agri-Tech venue. So that we need to have specific technologies that are going to accommodate, the processing, not specifically in, for example, like putting, making better the climate around or looking at, special sensors, but specifically about the processing, since most of them, they are in that area. Another thing that we see is that not all the women are very, educated. So when we're creating apps and we're creating technology, we have to have training programs that actually they are on a level that they can immediately get trained. They can be also very much into their domain. So they can be either, like in rural areas where they may have internet or they may not have internet, or they can be they are urban, so basically they can be adopted. Other things that we're looking at is if they have access to mobile banking or to areas that actually they can help their finances and do, small businesses. So for example, do they have the apps that they need in order to be able, and the training and the education in order to be able to actually finance the business that they're looking at. Language is another barrier, so it is not all Senegalese women are speaking the official language. So if we have apps, mobile apps, for example, or apps that they are technologies that they can be used, without having on the internet connection to the internet, that they can help them either translate or they can help them actually catch up with the official language that is used, so that they can do business. The last thing that I would like to say in terms of educating and developing technologies for women would be time management tools. Women are not only entrepreneurs and they have companies, but they also are mothers and they are caregivers for elderly. So basically their time is by far more narrow in terms of how they apply it. So they have to do everything fast, they have to be efficient, and time management tools are very important in terms of technology production in order for them to be able to be efficient.
Very much. Do we need translation? I think it's not. Okay. It's okay. So, Madam Marietu, I will ask you the same question as you are in a foundation and you are responsible of agriculture sector. How do we need to speak about gender and agriculture? What are the
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Sorry. Hello, everyone, and hello to my co-panelists. Yes, so I wanted first maybe to introduce the MasterCard Foundation. Who we are in the business of philanthropy, as we like to say it. MasterCard Foundation is based in Canada, but we are present in 8 countries in Africa. We have a country office here in Senegal, in Dakar, that covers YMU. Our main objective is to create jobs for young women and men in Africa. And our program is, our main program is named Young Africa Works, which is basically Jeunesse Africaine au Travail, to translate it properly. The objective is to create more than 30 million jobs for young Africans in 2030. So I will look at things in the angle of job creation, because that's really what we do at the MasterCard Foundation. And technology is important, specifically for women, because we target 70% of young women, young being less than 35 years old. Therefore, in our programs, we see young women striving to access technology. And I wanted to give my interventions, to my intervention a level of intentionally being positive, because one thing that we see on the field is that young women are very fond of technology. They actually see technology and agri-tech and innovation as a tool to expand their activity, improve their yields, on the fields, but also their, financial capacity. They also see it as a tool, some sort of freedom, because they're able, to manage their time better, as Dr. Mina has said, but also to manage, properly their duties, as a woman in general. Therefore, when we talk about these topics, it helps them really being empowered, as business women. Today, young women are business women. They are eager for technology. I was in the fields 2 weeks ago, and I remember one young woman in Casamance, working on the rice fields, saying, if you bring me a tractor that has equipment, or you bring me a drone, if you teach me how to do it, I'll drive the drone. She was very proud of herself. Proud to use an app to manage her rice yields and technology. She was, empowered, and that's maybe the kind of young women we want to see today. So I wanted to be, intentional about giving this good image of young women.
Thank you very much, Marietou. So that is the line story of our panel. We are used to heard about women, gender specialists talking about problem, barrier. So here we want it to be positive, because there is a positive shift on gender and equality. So I will give the floor to Madame Kumbofal. Also working on the political. Next question: what are the specific technology needs of women in agri-tech, and what is SARS and NGO doing on the advocacy side?
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Allow me maybe to continue in French. I think we have to be language balance. Thank you. Merci beaucoup, Madame la modératrice. Et je voudrais tout d'abord remercier l'audience et tous les partenaires qui ont bien voulu nous convier à cette activité et ce panel si important. Je crois que en tant dans le milieu des ONG, nous sommes toujours très contents d'avoir, disons, un focus sur les femmes quand on a des activités aussi importantes. Donc, je félicite vraiment les organisateurs d'avoir pensé à faire un panel focus sur tout gender. Donc, la question est assez pertinente. Je pense que je donnerai deux réponses. Pourquoi il faut inclure la dimension genre dans le secteur agri-tech. Je pense que la première question, ça répond à la dignité humaine. Lorsque nous sommes aujourd'hui une population plus grande portant dans l'agriculture, la population agricole la plus importante, surtout dans nos pays en développement, je crois qu'il y a plus de 60% de travailleuses sont les femmes. Donc, je pense qu'amener la technologie et tout ce de la recherche, d'innovation et technologie et répondre tout naturellement disons, promouvoir la dignité humaine, puisque il n'est plus question que les femmes soient écartées des opportunités techniques et surtout la recherche. Donc, je pense que c'est une très bonne chose de pouvoir réfléchir au comment et de pouvoir amener des solutions dans ce sens-là. La deuxième chose, c'est aussi tout simplement que nous sommes encore en face, surtout dans nos pays, devant des normes socioculturelles qui réduisent et entravent l'accès des femmes dans toutes les opportunités, que ce soit la technologie, les finances, l'accès à la tête. Je crois que c'est une question très importante au Sénégal. Donc, je pense que ce sont des facteurs qui sont encore très discriminants et auxquels il faut apporter des réponses. Je représente une ONG qui a initié un projet d'autonomisation des femmes dans la culture, où l'objectif principal, donc c'est IWA, c'est de vraiment réfléchir aux barrières, essayer de voir comment nous pouvons amener une autonomisation effective des femmes dans la culture. Et quand on parle de barrières, c'est justement l'accès à la technologie, dont bon nombre de femmes n'ont pas encore accès, mais c'est également l'accès au financement, puisque sans financement, nous ne pouvons pas accéder à la technologie. Accès au plaidoyer. Nous faisons beaucoup de plaidoyer pour le changement de mentalité, le changement des politiques qui puissent intégrer la dimension genre à tous les niveaux de la chaîne, des chaînes de valeur. Et je citerai peut-être aussi tout simplement l'accès au partenariat. Parce que sans partenariat, moi c'est le partenariat qui m'amène vers vous aujourd'hui. Donc sans partenariat, les femmes ne pourront pas non plus accéder aux opportunités. Donc je pense que la question est vraiment, la réponse est vraiment simple, c'est que comme la campagne l'Union africaine le rappelle, no one should be left behind, surtout les femmes. Je pense que si nous devons réfléchir à des solutions durables et de réponse à la sécurité humaine et alimentaire, je pense que c'est d'abord donner aux femmes et aux jeunes des opportunités qui leur permettront de valablement participer au développement.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Kumbofal. Donc, juste pour résumer un peu cette question, nous avons besoin de parler de genre et agri-tech parce que les femmes et les hommes ont des besoins différents. Les femmes sont surtout, si on le voit dans l'agriculture, dans la chaîne de transformation, et peut-être ce qui les intéresserait le plus, c'est les technologies qui facilitent ce travail-là. Mais aussi, on a beaucoup de jeunes femmes aujourd'hui qui sont dans l'agriculture, carrément, qui sont dans la technologie, comme Daous. Chez Daous, on a des ingénieurs. Mariétou, elle est de l'école supérieure d'agriculture. Et ça, on a des. Donc, le monde est en changement, mais on a toujours besoin quand même de renforcer les politiques qui marchent. Au plus de nous, c'est ça notre travail, voir les solutions qui marchent et pouvoir les mettre à l'échelle. Donc, I think that to understand what you are talking about, just summarizing that it's really important that we mainstream gender on Agri-Tech and we look how we can scale up the solutions which are working on this field. So we are going to the second question. Thank you. How do we bridge the gender gap now? What can you propose at the theoretical level or educational level? And thank you.
Thank you very much, Aminata. So in Senegal, 49% plus, right, is women, out of which 30%, 32% are educated. So I would say that as an educator, education is number one. Okay, so we have to be, first of all, we have to be aware. We have to educate, it's not only the students, but it's also the parents, it's also the public. Getting women in technology or getting women closer to technology has to happen at a very young age. You don't expect that actually a high schooler is going to grow up and become an engineer all of a sudden if there is not an environment that actually fosters that. So I would suggest, have clubs for engineering clubs for young kids, like 5, 6, 7 years and above, that the parents are involved because the kids at that age, they're looking up to the parents and to their friends in order to be introduced to new worlds. So basically, having them introduced in agricultural technology, agri-tech. For example, there are certain programs in the US right now that they're getting small elementary school kids, and they have small Lego robots that they are outside in the garden. And then the kids are learning in communities when they are in daycare how to grow small vegetables, and then they take these vegetables and eat them with their friends. So that's the first introduction of agri-tech, and a very rudimentary one, but you are growing to the kid the curiosity of having engineering and having technology together with agriculture, together with nutrition and health, which is basically what we're discussing about in this conference. So having innovative solutions like that, I think it's very important. So then, getting the parents to buy in is also very important, because these are the ones who, and the teachers, who are the ones who are going to introduce the kids. Then you're getting to the high school, of course, where you can have clubs like robotics and agri-robots and hydroponics. And just these can be simple solutions, simple kits that you can have either in the high schools or in, like junior highs, the 6 to 12 grades, for example. And they can be very cheap. They can be introduction technology, and you can integrate them with the courses that the students are doing. And then they see something, an outcome out of that, and that's important. You're going now to the universities, and we have three fantastic universities, four that are here. Some of them, they are technology like Taos that creates technology, but they don't have agricultural programs. Some of the other ones, they do have fantastic agricultural programs, but they don't have the engineers or the women. So why don't we create curricula, that courses that can be offered in all universities, and we can have these bridges or senior design projects that we were discussing before, that they're cheap, and you see how they can progress with the technology. So basically, something is at Taos that has the technology, but another university has the women engineers in agriculture, that they can use this technology, and why not, as my friend is doing in Georgia with Clemson and the other universities, and hopefully I get him to do with Rutgers too. Why don't, the universities here also share courses? And then you have mentorship, that have fantastic women that they're out there, they're doing agri-tech, and they're role models, and they can come to the classrooms and talk. I always invite women in my classrooms, for specific courses. They can come and talk, and the women there and the men, they're seeing, how you can, reach your dreams, and how you can actually use agri-tech. So, and they can become mentors. We have situations where, the students are coming up to us and say, can you mentor me? Can you help me navigate this world? Can you actually champion for me? Basically tell me, I'll give you my resume. Can you tell me how to fix it or how to progress? So this is important. And this is now where another bridge with the industry is coming in. And you have industrial partners that are coming to the classrooms. Also, you have industrial partners that can do either internships and co-ops for the students. So basically, get them either paid or unpaid leave and go and work with the industry for 3 months, for 2 months, even for 1 month, but they are getting the experience of what the industry is about. And this is actually a really bit of candy for them to understand what are the opportunities for them after that. Having industry projects, having sorry, I'm having my notes here. It had a lot of things in there. Supporting environment, it's very important. Listen to the students. Be there to hear what they have to say, and have a closed loop of what they're saying. If you go through your boards and see that actually makes sense, include it in the classrooms, include it in the education. Then there is the issue with remote education. So there are some places that they don't have cloud, they don't have internet, they don't have 5G. What do you do then? Then you develop these technologies, you develop games, you develop products that actually can be self-sustained without necessarily having to be in the cloud. And you have to bring them to the level of the people, of the women that they are, in order to understand them if they haven't been going to the university. Not everybody needs to go, but everybody could be a part of agri-tech by training them with a specific education. So I think that we have to start thinking a little bit out of the box, but definitely we have all the tools that is needed in order to implement them, and we should be able to implement them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asimina. pour résumer ce qu'elle a dit, donc nous devons ou bien nous pouvons encourager les filles très tôt à s'intéresser à l'agri-tech. Et ça, c'est un problème général. C'est vrai que le taux de femmes dans les métiers de sciences, technologie augmente de plus en plus, mais on a encore beaucoup à faire de manière positive. Et il y a beaucoup de programmes qui encouragent les filles, mais encore les études sont très chères dans ce domaine. Peut-être c'est ça peut-être qu'il faut constituer une barrière pour les jeunes femmes qui sont issues des milieux modestes. C'est ça peut-être une barrière. Et peut-être à encourager les différents acteurs à mettre de plus en plus de mesures spécifiques pour encourager ces filles avec des bourses de programmes pour qu'elles puissent étudier dans les métiers de sciences. Parce que ce n'est pas n'importe qui peut étudier à Daous, par exemple. Hein. Donc, voilà, c'est donc juste une parenthèse pour faire un point sur, en tout cas, un segment qui intéresse, par exemple, le PNUD et les Nations Unies, c'est les personnes qui sont left behind, qui sont vraiment dans les zones de pauvreté, pas pauvreté, c'est un peu péjoratif, mais vraiment les personnes qui n'ont pas les mêmes chances. Comment on peut renforcer avec les filles qui sortent des classes avec des notes excellentes, comment on peut leur donner des bourses de plus en plus pour qu'elles puissent intégrer des études à Daous et qu'on paye pour elles. Voilà, merci beaucoup pour votre point de vue. Madame Marietou, ou bien voilà, sur le plan programmatique, qu'est-ce que vous faites à Mastercard concrètement pour réduire les inégalités de genre dans le domaine de l'agri-tech?
Merci beaucoup, Aminata. Et je vais reprendre là où Dr Mina s'est arrêté, c'est par rapport à l'accompagnement. Déjà, quand on parle de l'agri-tech, des femmes et de l'agri-tech, de la population générale, on parle de vulgarisation et de dissémination. Et nous, à la Fondation, on considère la technologie et l'agri-tech de manière générale comme un enabler, un catalyseur. Je crois que c'est le bon mot. C'est comme un catalyseur qui va permettre en fait de développer, de multiplier l'impact. Donc, au lieu de voir la technologie comme quelque chose d'inaccessible, on l'a vu comme quelque chose qui permettait en fait de développer et de multiplier le nombre d'emplois qu'on peut créer chez les jeunes et les jeunes femmes plus particulièrement. Donc, un exemple très pratique, c'est par exemple dans le milieu de l'élevage, dans le nord du Sénégal, en partenariat avec la laiterie du Berger, qui est une entreprise qui transforme du lait localement. Nous avons travaillé dans une ferme pilote avec des jeunes femmes. Donc, au total, on a pu former 100 jeunes femmes à faire de l'élevage de manière moderne, avec des informations qui étaient présentes sur leur téléphone. Parce qu'en fait, toutes ces jeunes femmes, hein, dans leur famille, elles ont accès à un téléphone. Elles ont toutes accès à un téléphone, elles ont WhatsApp, elles communiquent, elles ont des groupes WhatsApp, elles sont sur Facebook, etc., la plupart. Et utiliser justement cet accès qu'elles ont à la technologie pour leur permettre de développer. Et donc, on leur a donné l'information, modernisation de l'élevage, avec aussi un accès au marché. Avec ce système de formation, donc la formation, elle dure 2 mois, ensuite elles ont une mini-ferme qu'elles vont explorer chez elles, dans leur contexte familial. On a pu créer ou aider en tout cas les jeunes femmes à créer un environnement de recherche, un environnement d'amélioration de leurs conditions de vie. Et c'est encore une fois une opportunité de création d'entrepreneuriat. Par exemple, une des jeunes femmes, au lieu de faire seulement ce qu'elle a appris, à faire du lait, par exemple, elle a dit, tiens, tout le monde a besoin de l'alimentation bétail. Donc, mais comme c'est une femme, elle a des obligations familiales, elle ne peut pas en fait, créer une boutique et y être tout le temps. Donc, on a aidé à développer une application de gestion de boutique d'alimentation bétail, où de chez elle, elle sait qui va venir, de combien elle a besoin. Elle a juste besoin d'aller ouvrir la boutique, vendre son alimentation bétail et retourner chez elle. Et la boutique, elle est à même pas 10 mètres. Donc, elle a pu, grâce à la technologie qui a été vulgarisée, grâce à une application qui elle-même lui a permis en fait de faire sa propre comptabilité, de savoir combien elle a vendu, combien elle a gagné, etc. Donc, c'est ce premier point de vulgarisation. Le deuxième point, ça va avec l'éducation aussi, c'est qu'il n'y a rien de mieux pour apprendre à une jeune femme qu'une autre jeune femme. On s'est rendu compte que les jeunes femmes qui ont réussi dans un entrepreneuriat, qui utilisent la technologie au jour le jour, sont les meilleures pour pouvoir transmettre cette technologie. Et malgré leur jeune âge, hein, on en a des profs qui ont moins de 25 ans. Hein. J'en ai une, elle a moins de 25 ans. C'est elle qui chapeaute et qui gère une trentaine d'autres jeunes femmes. Permettre en fait, de leur transmettre, elles discutent de leurs propres problèmes, elles se comprennent, voilà, elles échangent et comme ça, en fait, elles s'influencent positivement. Le dernier point, ça a un rapport fort avec le financement. Une des questions qui avait été posée au professeur tout à l'heure, comment on fait pour financer? À la Fondation Mastercard, on pense qu'en finançant la technologie, on augmente considérablement parce qu'on a un effet multiplicateur. Effectivement, la technologie, ça coûte cher. Mais elle a l'avantage d'être développée une fois pour 2, 3, 4, voire 5 situations. Et l'intérêt, c'est de faire interagir le secteur privé, l'État, les différentes collectivités, pour pouvoir créer un système de partenariat public-privé qui s'autofinance. Ça fait que ces projets, au-delà de durée, parce qu'un projet, ça a une durée limitée, ça devient sustainable, ça devient durable. Et pour ce projet, nous avons créé près de 7000 emplois au total sur toute la chaîne de valeur dans le nord du Sénégal. Et aujourd'hui, ce projet s'est arrêté. Bien, elle continue de fabriquer du lait, de le vendre, de faire du yaourt, de vendre de l'alimentation bétail parce que c'est un système circulaire qui marche. Donc, d'un point de vue problématique, peut-être c'est les 3 points importants. La vulgarisation, le mentorat à travers d'autres jeunes femmes comme elle et le développement de l'entreprise.
I think I don't need to translate, but she was saying that the 3 main mechanisms they are using is vulgarization, entrepreneurship, and mentorship program between women themselves. So thank you, Marietou. Docteur Kumbofa, sur le plan du plaidoyer, sur le plan de l'environnement politique, comment on fait pour réduire le gap dans l'agri-tech pour les femmes? Et particulièrement au Sénégal et en Afrique. C'est que
c'est vrai, c'est vrai. Parce que c'est tout à fait le cas au Sénégal. Je crois que nous sommes parmi les pays les plus chanceux en termes d'accès des femmes à la technologie. Excusez-moi. Il est vrai qu'à travers le programme que nous avons, le programme IWA, nous rencontrons quand même des disparités entre les pays, mais ça ne veut pas dire que nous pouvons nous prévaloir de ne rien faire parce qu'il y a encore énormément de, excusez-moi, il y a encore énormément de disparités au niveau du Sénégal. Je ne sais pas. Il n'y a pas de raison à ce que. Merci beaucoup. Désolée, merci beaucoup. Donc, comme mes... déjà relaté des facteurs assez importants, notamment l'éducation, notamment la vulgarisation. Je crois que c'est très important. Au niveau du plaidoyer, ce que l'organisation fait, c'est un plaidoyer au niveau continental. Les politiques là puissent descendre justement au niveau national. On a une bonne expérience avec les ministères, si je prends le cas de IWA. Mais je pense que les femmes demandent aussi, c'est de pouvoir réfléchir à aller vers elles. C'est-à-dire qu'aujourd'hui, il ne faut pas développer des projets ou des stratégies sans qu'elles soient inclusives. Je pense que ce qu'elles veulent de plus en plus, c'est qu'on vienne identifier les besoins réels. Parce qu'on parle quand même de l'accès à la technologie adaptée et la technologie fonctionnelle. Donc, je pense que le premier point, au-delà du plaidoyer, c'est de bien comprendre les besoins et de pouvoir répondre de façon précise aux besoins spécifiques, que ce soit dans la transformation, comme vous l'avez si bien rappelé, que le point phare, en fait, hein, où les femmes se trouvent, mais également dans le marketing, dans la commercialisation. Et je pense que aussi le partenariat ou l'intégration des jeunes dans les plateformes, dans les groupements de femmes, c'est, je pense, un élément qui est extrêmement important parce que les plateformes que nous avons vues à travers l'Afrique gagnent en expérience, gagnent en technicité, mais lorsque elles arrivent à intégrer les jeunes en leur sein et qui les accompagnent à mieux comprendre, bien sûr, la question de sensibilisation et enfin les ressources. Aujourd'hui, je pense qu'elles ont compris que pour être plus productives, pour être plus rentables, il faut qu'elles accèdent à la technologie. Mais où se trouvent les financements? Où se trouvent les opportunités? Et je pense que c'est là aussi où on doit plus travailler en mettant en place un écosystème qui permet à prendre, d'entendre, d'être informé à temps et de pouvoir chercher les opportunités là où elles se trouvent. Donc, c'est vraiment un processus continu. Je me réjouis d'avoir des chercheurs, mais également la Fondation pour peut-être réfléchir à la sortie de ce projet, si on prend le cas du Sénégal, comment on peut réfléchir sur des solutions, disons, intégrant les différentes perspectives.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Koumba. Donc, il y a M. Diallo qui me fait signe que le temps qu'on nous avait alloué est épuisé. Je pense qu'on a quand même été très bref. Donc, je ne sais pas si on peut prendre une question du public, une question ou deux. Voilà, juste 5 minutes encore, s'il vous plaît. S'il y a des questions pour le panel ou s'il y a des contributions.
Merci beaucoup, Madame. Je pense que le panel est très important dès lors que les femmes, comme on dit, sont presque pratiquement 40% de labor force de la chaîne de valeur agriculture. Donc, elles le font de façon très difficile, nous tous nous le savons. Elles sont partout dans la chaîne de valeur, dans tous les segments. Mais la question que je me pose est, est-ce que réellement c'est une question de politique qui doit prendre en compte ces aspects genre, ou est-ce que c'est une question de, est-ce que nos pays maîtrisent ce concept de genre en réalité? Parce que on parle de genre partout dans les projets, dans les programmes et tout, mais en réalité, on le voit comme c'est la femme. Il n'y a pas de recherche. Alors qu'il faut qu'on fasse des gender assessments, c'est-à-dire des étudiants au niveau micro, pour pouvoir comprendre les besoins des femmes, les besoins des hommes, tous qui sont dans les chaînes de valeur et n'ont pas les mêmes rôles et les responsabilités n'ont pas les mêmes contraintes. Et c'est ça qui n'est pas bien perçu. On n'a pas assez de données désagrégées. Voilà. Donc, comment vous voulez que nos politiques prennent en compte cet aspect? Voilà. Donc, ça, c'est un véritable problème. Et je pense qu'il faut qu'on essaie quand même d'inclure ce concept peut-être dans l'éducation pour que nous tous, nous ayons les mêmes compréhensions.
Premièrement, je vous remercie. C'est un sujet super important et ça me touche au cœur en tant que femme africaine de la Tunisie. Donc, c'est une question et aussi c'est un retour d'expérience parce que je suis chercheuse dans l'Agri-Tech et je suis en contact avec des femmes dans l'agri-tech, c'est partout en Afrique et que la femme occupe, dans la Tunisie, plus que 50% les postes, ce sont des femmes dans tous les secteurs de l'agri-tech. Donc, pour le problème de financement, je peux partager le taux d'expérience des programmes qui sont financés par des bailleurs de fonds comme l'USAID, GIZ, le ministère, le World Bank. Tous ces programmes financent des solutions technologiques pour les femmes dans les zones rurales et les femmes dans l'agri-tech. Ce sont des programmes pour les encourager à utiliser des plateformes web pour les encourager à s'adapter plus facilement aux technologies par des plateformes. Et je veux partager ici que les femmes sont plus et ont plus prêtes pour adapter les nouvelles technologies. Sont super intelligentes, ils veulent toujours se développer. C'est un sentiment vraiment extraordinaire parce que même avec respect de tous les hommes, même l'application, c'est une femme et non, les femmes veulent toujours commencer et tester. Donc, c'est juste, je finis par vous féliciter et pour travailler plus en plus à des programmes parce que, pour être honnête, les fonds sont là. Il y a réellement des investissements, il y a des fonds, mais comment les diriger dans les bons sens, c'est le challenge. Donc, et les femmes, c'est aussi, ce sont les responsables d'adapter ces programmes et et de voir ces fonds venir. Merci.
Alors, moi, je voulais juste, je voudrais qu'on m'éclaire un peu parce que j'ai l'impression à chaque fois que j'assiste à une conférence où les gens vont parler de gender, les panélistes vont passer 90% de leur temps à parler de femmes. Et je pense que gender, ce n'est pas forcément femme. Madame a parlé 27 fois, elle a mentionné 27 fois femme. Dans son discours, plusieurs fois homme. Madame a mentionné, dès le début, j'étais content, trouver du travail pour les hommes et les femmes après, carrément versé pour femme, deux fois qu'elle a pris la femme. Madame aussi, exclusivement femme. Et vous, par contre, jusqu'à même donner des solutions pour parler de l'inégalité en donnant des bourses à des jeunes. Je ne peux pas penser aussi à donner des bourses aux jeunes étudiants aussi, qui sont toujours dans la même situation que les femmes. Je me demande, est-ce que vous n'êtes pas en train de créer notre pays inconsciemment? Parce que quand on parle de femmes, quand on parle de gender, on doit parler des deux. On va parler de justice, mais pas uniquement de. I cannot do it in English anyway, but maybe someone will translate. Thank you. Juste vous m'éclairez. C'est pas une discussion, c'est pas.
He was just telling, and it's that we are talking about women, and if we talk about gender, gender is about men and women. So just in réponse pour vous dire that if we talk about women in agri-tech, there is for the moment we have much more men in agri-tech than women. What do you know the statistic? No, let me continue. So why we say bridging the gender gap, there is inequality for this moment. But in other side, for example, we can have other problems for men that we have to solve. But in agri-tech now, there is a gender gap. So bridging the gender gap, that was the thematic of our panel. But me personally and all people who are here, for example, in Senegal, we are saying now that immigration for young people, that should be a gender topic that we address. So we are aware that we have to work for men, but in the problem that are much more severe, the problem plus severe chez les hommes. So the panel is happy to end this question because we know we want challenge and we are women, we are strong, and we are. Thank you. The last word, I want to thank the panel for your contribution and for your advice, and the public also for your participation. We are very happy that you could ask this question. Interesting. Thank you very much.
Allô, allô, un message s'il vous plaît. Donc, à partir de maintenant, on se répartit en sessions. Donc, la session 9, s'il vous plaît, la session 9 est éliminée du fait qu'on a un problème de salle. Puis, c'est sur les politiques agricoles et les semences. Alors, on a la session 8 qui parle de l'agriculture intelligente face au climat. Elle, c'est ici. La session 8, c'est ici. La session 7, c'est la salle suivante. La session 8 est modérée par... La session 8 est modérée par Dr. Pape Ablaïsek, s'il vous plaît. La session 7 par Dr. Ousmane Khan, la salle qui suit. Alors, la session 6 est modérée par professeur Ousmane Doy. Là. Ok, c'est vous qui remplacez professeur Lee, c'est ça? Donc, vous êtes à la session 6. À la session 6, on va parler de l'avantage du numérique sur la valorisation des produits agricoles transformés. Et puis, à la session 5, on a la gestion post-récolte et transformation des aliments. C'est la salle tout à fait fond. Maintenant, on va devoir, s'il vous plaît, on va devoir faire un effort. S'il vous plaît, je demanderai au public, s'il vous plaît, je demanderai au public de faire un effort de répartition pour qu'on n'ait pas à agir comme la dernière fois hier. Hier, on était obligé d'éliminer une session de facto parce qu'il n'y avait que les présentateurs. Parce que c'est des sessions parallèles. Donc, s'il vous plaît, on va essayer de faire une répartition parce que tout le monde est là, surtout quand il y a des présentateurs et il n'y a pas de... voilà. S'il vous plaît, encore, j'aimerais voir du mouvement dans ce sens-là. Je sais qu'on a Dr. Papa Blasek comme modérateur. C'est attirant. Oui, oui. On va essayer de se répartir. Encore. Ici, c'est 8. Oui. Il y a 7 et 6 de l'autre côté. Oui.